So we are live. And I was going to start the stream like 30 minutes ago, but someone had to recommend me Symphony of the Night, Castlevania. And I've never played a Castlevania game before, and I think it's absolutely fucking amazing. I'm at the first boss where I keep dying because I'm just not I'm not good at the game, and there's a lot of more controls than just like Metroid. So I'm stuck at the boss where that big flying thing drops like a green dragon on you, and then they can shoot fireballs. I'm stuck there. So I said, that's a good place to stop. I just turned it on and went through it. But I can see I can see right now that Symphony of the Night, the Castlevania game, I can see why people would say it's the best game ever made. I could definitely see why, for sure. That game is definitely in the area that game is definitely in that perfect time area. I say between the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, where creativity was truly allowed to be explored. And on top of that, there was technology to actually get the creativity through. I say that PS1 to PS2 era was about the biggest era of it. Nowadays, everything is just recycled content, vomit, garbage. It's the same 3 games come out over and over again now, you know. But that I get, but like I said, I've only made it to the first boss in the Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Not that little intro bullshit boss, but like the first boss where like I'm really supposed to beat him, but I just die because I suck right now. And I can see why. I could immediately see out of all the shit that I even found out you can do, like I can see why people will swear by that game being one of the best games ever made. I get it already. I get it. And it's a shame I didn't try it earlier. What's up, JM? What's up, Plug Plays? What's up, Ritzils? You told me how to pronounce it, and I forgot. What's up, DMG? Hope you guys doing all right. We can pick the game, but we cannot change the rules. We're from GTA 4. That is true. We can pick the game, but we can't change the rules. You know what's crazy? I just watched Hostiles last night, too, with Christian Bale. I stumbled on like a clip of it on YouTube. And as I watched it years ago, you know, so I thought, you know what? These clips look really good. I think I'm going to rewatch it now as, you know, as a man going on 40 to see because I didn't really care for it the first time I seen it. And like, it's weird how, you know, when you start to age, you go back and try things again that maybe you didn't care for before and didn't see anything in it. And now it's like pretty fucking great. And that movie was a really good movie. Hostiles with Christian Bale. Was and it had that dude who played the dude who played Kang. He played the sidekick. I didn't even know. I mean, I never even put that together. He played the sidekick to Christian Bale. Jonathan Majors, him. He was in Hostiles. And that little French dude, the French dude, I guess women are crazy about in the U.S. He was in that movie. But it was real good. It was about that whole that time period, pretty much when the Native Americans were all seen as savages in North America, and the white populations were pretty much just this was like long after the British had come there. They had already made it America, and they were at this point they were pretty much just like slaughtering all the Indians, or all the natives in the U.S. So, but this is the point where like the whites were starting to be like, oh yeah, we really fucked you guys over, kind of thing. Like we were, there was nothing ever right or cool about this. So like a lot of guilty conscience started to come up in Christian Bale's character, because there was a part in the movie where Christian Bale character, he has to carry a prisoner who murdered. I think they said he murdered his family with an axe. And he had to take him to get punished, but he had to like take him by horse, you know, along with other shit, um, to I think Montana. Yeah, it was in Montana, and they had to travel. This is the fucking I don't know when this was exactly. They had steam engines, but I don't know. I can't think. I'm just too tired to try to really deduce when the time period was. But anyway, so the prisoner was actually one of Christian Bale's old friends when they were younger in the military, and he was just telling stories how how they used to just slaughter the natives, and it was nothing even special to even do. It was just what they it was just part of the job kind of thing, right? And Christian Bale's character is kind of conflicted because like he's trying to change, he's getting tired of death and all this. And it really was a good movie. It was, and I completely see why that would never get highly publicized, because it's just media and target audiences, and populations, they just don't want to ever revisit that reality. But it really was a good movie. I recommend. I mean, some of the acting was a little sketchy sometimes, but it was a really good movie. I would highly recommend it, for sure. I think it's because it's more told almost like a western, because it's set in western times. It's almost told like a western where like nothing's gonna be spelled out for you. You have to just understand the situation, context. None of the people's past really matters up to that point. It's just what they are, and you can kind of sense out that something happened in their past, but nothing's ever gonna be. It's not like in modern movies where everybody's like just so excited over assigning mental health conditions to why they're like this. And I was trapped when I was a little girl, and you should know that. And all that it's like they're spelling out too much for you. And I think that's where Westerners were really good, because they never really spelled anything out. In fact, most of the storytelling was told in complete silence. Most of the storytelling in the few Westerners that I watch, and my uncle, he used to always watch Westerns, so I would always like kind of pick up a little bit from him. Most of the storytelling would be in fact told in with no words. It was just more told, they just sitting there looking at people's reactions, looking at that, how they making eye contact with each other, looking at what they looking at after the eye contact's made. And it would go on for what seemed like 5 and 10 minutes straight, because it's slow. But the thing is, in that 5 and 10 minutes, that's the most impactful 5 and 10 minutes of, I mean, like it's severely impactful, right? Now, Hostiles didn't really hit that level of it, but it was really good. I still recommend Hostiles. Highly. A deal. My email. Let me see if I can sign. I don't think I can sign in the chat. I think I can go on Google. I did figure it. Hang on. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna sign in to. I'm afraid to hit the sign in button here. But I bet you if I go on YouTube the old fashioned way, so I can type it in. I can go to my comment section and just type it in. Am I still on? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this, yeah. Okay, this is me. I'm just gonna type, because I don't know if it'll filter it out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna type. Let me make sure I spelled that right. 69, and then it's at gmail.com. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Type it like that. Okay, I'm up like immediately, so it's probably completely out of context then, from like the delay on the video from what I actually typed. There's always like a 20-second, 30-second delay. Oh, Washington, D.C. I've never been to D.C., man. I've never been to D.C. I didn't even know D.C. was like a city. You know what I mean? Like, I've always heard of Washington, D.C. I've never actually. A good friend of mine's little brother moved out there after he graduated from college, and that's all I know about D.C. I've always wanted to go. From DC, word up, that's cool. Oh, I meant to show you because we hit daylight savings time, so it's the sort of light still out. So here, this light's gonna cut out because I gotta unplug it, but I'll show you my flame. I got a pallet outside because I completely just like said fuck the couch I was building because it just got too cold and I needed tools. So now I'm gonna get back on that. But so there's the pallet right there. But that's downtown. All that is Prague. That is. I feel like it looks like shit, like through a phone or something, because it just looks so far away. It doesn't look that far away in person. Yeah. So we hit daylight savings time, so it's now 7:42 here. So it's staying late. So that's the other, because I meant to live stream last week, but the weird part is like when it's wintertime here, it fucking gets dark at like 4:30, and then you get so used to that like when daylight savings times hit, it's like, dude, like I swear it's like I'll get up, I get something to eat, or if I'm with my son, hang out with my son or something like that, and then 2 hours later it's 6:30. Like what the fuck? I can't keep track of time because I'm so programmed to it getting dark at 4:30. It's not even dark right now, and it's past 7:30, and it does this literally in the course of like a week or two here. From how it feels to me, at least, it feels like it just jumps from getting dark at 4:30 to like 7:30 over the course of like a fucking week. So I just completely lose track of time. Like the days go so much faster in the summertime. Which you would think it would be the opposite since the day's actually going on longer, but like it's really weird. Did you hear about the Nintendo Switch too? Yeah, man, they made that shit fucking. Okay, here's the thing, man. With Nintendo, I'll say this. The good part about Nintendo is generally when they make their own games, they make a complete game from the start. And that's where I will really vouch for it. That's where I will team up. I will side with Nintendo and make something expensive. Because again, at least when they do make their own games are completely ready day one. Okay, they're not coming out. They don't have to really come out with patches and all this silly shit later. It's usually like more than playable immediately, right? It's like Sony and Microsoft. They've just forgotten. Don't even get me started on PC gaming. They've just completely forgot the concept of quality assurance. This shit just doesn't even register anymore. Like these motherfuckers need to go look in a dictionary again to figure out what quality means, because it's atrocious in the PC gaming world. It's gotten to the point where they just flat out get away with selling you, having you pay to be a game tester, and it's just acceptable now. It's pathetic. But yeah, Nintendo, they did price it way too high. They did, but on the backside, when they make their games, at least they make a fully ready product from day one. Historically, for the most part, I'm sure they've probably fucked up here or there somewhere, but for the most part, when they release a game, it is released, and you could tell they. Here's the thing: when it comes to Microsoft, Sony, and PC, I strongly believe, and it is a fact, but this is actually a fact, that realistic graphics are just a waste of time right now. I think realistic graphics is in the same area of Leonardo da Vinci, of doing what I think he was trying to do, and essentially make Google Maps from literally walking across Italy and drawing pictures of all of Italy from mountainsides. He was trying to make Google Maps. He just didn't have the technology yet to do it. The concept was, from what I see, that's my theory of what Da Vinci was trying to do. Da Vinci would walk around Italy from mountaintops and draw pictures and then try to link them all up. He was trying to make Google Maps, but he just didn't know it, right? Couldn't know it, right? Because he didn't have the technology. So he was gonna do a whole lot of work for shit to still be fucked up, right? Now, On now, when it comes to Nintendo, or I'm sorry, gaming and Sony and PC and Microsoft, they're chasing this realistic graphics. And okay, nowhere near the amount of people can go back to what was considered realistic 10 years ago and massively play it. You always have some who just like something, but like what we consider realistic. Well, okay, well, to be fair, the graphics really haven't developed much within the last 10 years. I would say 20 years, because we've really been stagnant for the last 10 to 15 years, honestly. If anything, it's been a huge downgrade, in my opinion. But when you look at anything that was considered realistic from PlayStation 1 and hyper realistic from PlayStation 2 and then hyper realistic from PlayStation 3, most of it like it is very difficult to play because the quality of life, the little things evolved, right? So like in my theory, I really think that all these AAA developers, they need to just go ahead and just completely ditch the hyper realistic train, because it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of resources, it's a waste of creativity. Okay, it's a complete and then what ends up happening is that Nintendo ends up picking up it's like the Japanese game developers pretty much end up picking up all the bad habits from where American developers or Western developers completely fucked up at. And then it trickles into their games. Because here's the thing. If you go back and play any Mario game on DS, 3DS, any of them turn-based games, whatever, they were immensely better than anything Nintendo's put out recently, right? So it's like Nintendo, like, I don't know what it is with Japanese game developers, but when you can tell like they'll end up if they're trying to hit mainstream shit, they'll take all the bad stuff that Americans do and put that into their games, and then it just ends up just like dull, watered down piece of shit. For example, was that Mario Strikers? That's any Nintendo sports game is complete dog water right now compared to what they was making on before. It's complete dog water. Because here's the thing, American game developers will not take any risks anymore because it's too much money to be lost in taking a risk. That's why Ubisoft just makes the same shit. Ubisoft, and with Ubisoft, like I've always said this, Ubisoft was a professional test copier. Meaning here's the thing. Right now, it is extremely clear how pathetic Ubisoft is, because it is. And because hear me out on this. Ubisoft's main game plan after they lost the rights to Prince of Persia and they started fucking up Splinter Cell, their only game plan was to sit back and wait for Rockstar to come out with something and then mimic that. But here's the catch, though. Rockstar ain't made Grand Theft Auto in about 15 years. So guess what Ubisoft did? They ain't made nothing in about 15 years. Because they sitting around waiting to cheat off somebody. That's Ubisoft's position. And it's disgusting. It's pathetic. And then how much you want to bet? After Rockstar comes out with Grand Theft Auto 6, I bet you within a year, Ubisoft go, hey, guess what, guys? We came out with this new one. Guess what we did? Well, I heard you guys like Rockstar. Like, they fucking pit my ride. I heard you guys like cars. Well, guess what? I put a car inside of a car and put it on top of a car. Because we're Ubisoft, where creativity happens. Yeah, fuck off. You're sitting around waiting to copy whatever suck Rockstar's cock. It's fucking pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. It really is. Oh, Twisted Metal. Oh man, Twisted Metal. I remember when Twisted Metal came out. Twisted Metal was like, it was unbelievably just dark and gritty, and I didn't even know what to quite think of it. I still remember when Twisted Metal, the first Twisted Metal, that was the shit. All the Twisted Metal. I was never big into Twisted Metal, but I mean, as a guy, you have to like cars and you have to like guns on some level. So like those two together always make sense, right? As a guy, unless they just completely fuck it up, right? It's one of them things. I don't even like guns like that, but you got to look at a gun, right? It's when as a guy, I think it's like a guy thing. No matter how much of a pacifist you might be, like you have to like. There's just something cool about a gun on some level, right? But yeah, Twisted Metal was the shit, man. All them PlayStation 1 was just that sweet spot. PS1 and PS2 was that real sweet spot, and PS3 was when things started to go downhill. That's when gaming was just starting to hit mainstream from my memories and where I was living and all that. And the PS3 was the PlayStation 3 was. I remember when I got the PlayStation 3. Well, I got a PlayStation 3 much later. The Xbox 360 had Call of Duty. And I remember when Call of Duty came out on Xbox 360. I remember I was in Walmart looking at it somebody was playing it on the screen, and it was completely different from the old Call of Duties because the old Call of Duties were not run and gun and all that shit. The old Call of Duties were damn near simulators of wars and shit. Because my brother used to really like those old Call of Duties. He really enjoyed them. I never liked them because I preferred the arcade, the run and gun kind of thing. So I remember when I first seen Call of Duty played on Xbox 360 at Walmart, I thought it was the most beautiful game I had ever seen in my life. Like everything about it just looked so perfect, right? Because I've always liked that Platinum Games kind of look, and at the time it had like almost like a Platinum Games kind of look, where it was like at the core, like it was inspired by like those arcade Virtual Ons, if you remember Virtual On. There's that arcade sense of just sound and movement and colors. It had that you could tell it had that inspiration from that. But yes, I remember I had a Xbox 360. I didn't get a PlayStation 3 till much later because they were too expensive. They PlayStation 3s, and for rightfully so. I think they had the Blu-ray player in them, and so there was an excuse for why they were expensive at the time because Blu-ray players by themselves were, they cost more than the PlayStation 3 did. So it wasn't without good merit. It was definitely for a good reason. Why? Thank you, Xavier. You was watching since 2020. Thank you. Ubisoft is about to be brought out. Too many games that flop. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like gaming on a whole has just been stagnant because there's been too many mainstream people that kind of come in. I think it's a combination of a few things when it comes to game. Because I could talk about gaming forever, man. Like I think there was too many combinations of things that happened to gaming on a whole. I think because the Sega Dreamcast killed the arcade. So for people who were too young to remember arcades, or example like Czech Republic, a country where they never had arcades, like nobody in my age group, no Czech person that I know of in my age group here, it wasn't legal in their country to have arcades. So I think somewhere in their laws, if you put money into a machine like that, it used to be written that it was considered gambling. So the kids couldn't do it. I think it was some twisted thing like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but for those of you who like say in the U.S., I don't know if the U.K. had arcades. I mean, call me ignorant, but it is what it is. I'm not sure if the U.K. had arcades or not, but in America, arcades were a big thing. And the Dreamcast, because when you would go to the arcade, that would be like the best quality gaming, right? Generally speaking, it's better than anything you could get at home. And then when the Dreamcast came out, that completely killed the arcade. Because now you can get graphics better than the arcade at home, right? So it was to the point where like, okay, just get a Dreamcast and don't even go to the arcade because the arcade, for a game that has really good graphics, they gonna charge you $3 a play for it, and that was expensive back then. So it was the kill. It was I think it was the death of the arcade. Dreamcast did that single-handedly. Did that. Then the PlayStation 2 came in and just killed the Dreamcast. And then, since people could have it at home, that opened up the door to siblings coming in the room and playing a game with you. Because now you got the arcade at home, right? Because before you used to have to go to the arcade. So in reality, if you had siblings and y'all went to the arcade, well, any one of y'all could just leave whenever you wanted to and just go to the food court or something like that. Whereas and now you got the video game at home. Now it's easier just when you get bored, just slide in there, sit next to your brother or whatever, and play the game. So I think that opened up a lot more door for more gamers. But these gamers didn't really come up through that same arcade method, and they needed things a little more simplified because gaming used to be more difficult back in these years too. The arcade games are always the more easier games, generally speaking. So, um, so the arcade lightened the whole atmosphere of gaming to make it easier to actually play, make distance in and these kind of things. I mean, you still had your douchebag games like Demon Souls and this, but like they were nowhere near the norm. Like because this was the phase where they like see these there was a bunch of other game developers like FromSoft that was making games that were just insanely difficult. And all of those game developers just died off because that transition happened to switch to that easier arcade gaming. So FromSoft was about the only one that really made it out of that transition, right? And by the skin of their teeth on top of that. I mean, they sold well, but you got to remember this was a period of time where they really all they had to do was fuck up one game, and they would lose the whole audience. So luckily they made it, for people who enjoy FromSoft games. I think they're a piece of shit, but whatever. um, you had a dream, yeah. Oh, I had a Dreamcast too. NBA 2K, first time I seen NFL 2K, NBA, that was unbelievable. Now it looks like cell phone games look better than that shit now, but back then it was unbelievable. Um, but back to Nintendo. Nintendo. The only area where I would vouch for Nintendo is Nintendo when they do make a game, they don't is it they make when you go to the store and you buy a game made by Nintendo, there would be a certain level of quality put into it. Nintendo is like the iPhone, is like a good pair of Nikes. They're in that league. When you go in there and buy something Nintendo, you will get something of a game of good quality. Now the controllers left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth with that whole drifting and all that. That left a bad taste in my mouth too. But game software wise, you're generally going to get, even if it's a little clunky, it's still going to be a certain quality, right? Even if it'll be a little clunky here and there. So that's the only place where I can. But here's the thing, but the math still doesn't math because the resources it takes to make a game look hyper realistic, Nintendo's not spending that money because their games aren't hyper realistic. All their games, half of their games still look like GameCube quality, just at higher resolutions, which is actually a complete fucking fact. The reason why I can say that is if you go open an emulator, right, go play Dolphin and just update the resolution to 4K, and you'll be like, this looks better than anything I seen from on the Switch and even at that fucking Switch 2 shit. I dare you. Go open up if you got a gaming PC, download Dolphin and set the settings to where the resolution will be at 4K, at 60 frames, how many frames you want per second, and play. You can be like, God damn, this is better than anything we got out right now. So Nintendo's not spending any money on that side of it. So it's like that money's not being spent on textures, on developing. They're not spending any money on development of hyperrealism. There's no money being spent. All of Nintendo's games are still based in cartoony bullshit world. So nothing's very taxing on the system. Very few games are actually going to be truly taxing on anything modern, So there's no money being spent there. So I hope all the money is being spent on quality control for actual for game quality. Ice May said, Nintendo's strength is their first party games. Sad part about drifting is Sega solved that problem with the Dreamcast controller. Yeah. Nintendo first party games are, except their sports games of recent, their first party games are always going to be just like a strong, certain level of quality. Now, the mother developers got like them Pokemon developers on them. Them motherfuckers got atrocious But I'm not even a big Pokemon guy. But I can see that that's gotten bad. Yeah. But that's enough about video games. Yeah. So today I was hanging out with the guy teaching the guy at the bank. Dude, he's from Ukraine, but he speaks. He's been in Czech Republic for like 30 years, and so we was talking. That's what English teachers do, and we got on a topic. He asked me, okay, what's the difference between a cable, and a cord? And as an English speaker, these are the little conversations you just don't even think about. If you're a native English speaker, right? You don't think about these little things that are different. So I was trying to explain the difference between a wire, a cable, and the cord, right? So I tried to explain to, okay, like if he were to point at the TV and just start blabbing and then wires came out, as a native English speaker, we would all, okay, I'm going to go ahead and generalize and say if he was to say, oh no, the wire's fucked up, right? And he pointed at the TV. My first thought is when you say wires, that you're talking about inside the TV, so like a wire inside a TV. You're not talking about the plug that you plug into the wall, right? So I had to explain to him. So he asked, well, what's a cable? So I pointed to the building, and it was like this, a cable coming from. I said, that's a cable. We would call, like, my first thought is that would be a cable. And he says, well, if I want to charge my phone, what do I say? What would I call it? Would I call it a wire, a charging wire? I said, no, we wouldn't say. From Ohio, we would never. I don't think we would ever say a charging wire. Like if you asked to borrow somebody's charger, you wouldn't say, hey, let me borrow your charging wire, unless you were trying to be funny or something like that. You would say, let me do like a cable, or you just say charger. But if you had to identify the part of the charger, I think we would use the cable first. Cord second, right? But it was a real hard thing to explain because it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things. I was like, another example, I was trying to explain to my spouse the difference between what was it? A pillar? I think it was a pillar and a bar. That's what it was. A bar and a pillar. And I was trying to explain to her like what we would call like a bar and these are like, this is an interesting part about, living in a culture where you two speak completely different native languages, is because you can have like these really great intellectual conversations, and then you can immediately be deduced to like a 3-year-old conversation of like what a word means, right? Right? Like back to back, right? Right. And I think that is like a really interesting part that I think I would really, if I were to go back to America, I would miss those little areas. Like for another example is argue and argument. So I remember my ex-wife, it first came up with her. She was talking about somebody and she goes, yeah. He goes, yes. And they were having an argue about something. I said, no, they were having an argument about something. And she goes, well, how do you, and I said, I honestly don't even know why we, I just know, like, I don't, like, for example, like if I'm talking to somebody, I would not say we're having an argue right now. I would say we're having an argument right now. Right. And she was trying to ask me, well, how do you know, like what's the rules on that? And I said, look, I don't even know the rules on it. Maybe we could chat GPT it now, but I don't even know. Like, if you had to ask an average American to explain when do you use argue and when do you use argument in a base logical form, like that shit would be kind of hard to do. You know what I mean? Like, because depending on the context. Have you seen series Dope Sick? Someone got addicted to Oxycontin. Well, not Oxycontin, but I know people who were on heroin. But yeah. There's no difference. We would accept wire, cord, cable. It's weird, but it don't really. Yeah, 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 Black. Yeah, we would accept. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Where we were coming from was it wouldn't be what would be accepted, but it's more like he wanted because he spends he's at the bank, dude. He just spends well, he's at the corporate bank, and he just like he tries to learn English, so he'll like open up these apps or whatever. And so the hard part for the people outside of these Western countries is they are getting media, English speaking media from all over the world. You're talking like America, Canada, Britain, Australia, so they'll have different accents. But on top of that, they have different accents, and they're just using like completely different words, right? And so he wanted to know, like, as a person from Ohio, what would be my first, like, the first thing I would say to something, right? So then I had to make very clear, well, just because I'm from America, like anywhere, there's going to be different regions. So since I'm from the technically the Midwest, how we would call it, somebody from Nevada may say a different word than me, right? But I would know what they meant. But they might you or somebody from Georgia may say they may have a different slang or different word for it than somebody in Maine, or they could just attack the whole sentence in a different way. But the thing is, in America, we can all come together and communicate on a good level, regardless of the spatial, distance from each other. Um, but yeah, it was just little parts like that that were really cool. Um, I had something else. Oh, because in their language, and so in Czech language, they only have one word for, okay, for example, like, okay, one very common issue that I see here when I go to, or just speak with people I know here, right? And we speak English, um, they will make the mistake. They'll say, yes, like for example, they'll make the mistake saying, yeah, so I was talking to my sister, and my sister learned me how to do a bowl of rice. I said, no, no, no. Your sister taught you how to cook a bowl of rice. So and so I finally got to the core issue with that. The core issue is in their language, they only have one word for learn and teach. It's just uchit. They only have one word. They don't have two separate words for like being for learning or teaching. Like, because in English, if you learn something, you were being told, or if something was being given to you if you learned it. But if you were being taught something. Wait, what did I just say? Now I'm getting confused now. I'm getting confused. When you teach something, okay, let's say if I as native English speakers, we know this, but I'm sure there's people in here who probably aren't native. So these are just I'm maybe just little tidbits to help them out. So like, for example, if I say I I teach them or I taught them, I'm informing them. Now, if I was the receiver of knowledge, I learned or I was being taught by someone or from someone, right? And it's a bunch of these little areas. Like, for example, I learned in Czech today, actually, because I was real confused on rapping, right? So around Christmas time, when you go to the mall, you know how pretty much anywhere in the world's gonna have this. They'll have like some type of gift wrapper, right? Some stand, somebody will wrap gifts and get paid to wrap gifts professionally. So in Czech, it's called balani dodek, nebo balani dodku. And balani is the wrapping part. So what I found out today was they have a different word for wrap a box or wrap something around like your finger. Like it's like the saying, she's got them wrapped around her finger. They have two different words for depending on their. And on top of that, they have two different words for slides. So for kids slides, I don't know the names of them now, but they have two completely different words for if a slide goes straight down or if the slide curves on the way down. It's two completely different words and don't even sound similar at all. I forgot them now, but I thought that was, weird too. A, 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 your views on YouTube is Crumble because you don't talk about boring topics now. Please, please go back to your roots. Start talking about bitches. Yeah, that's true. That's true. In the South, people say finna instead of going to. Yeah, so Javi, I try to explain that to people out here, and like that's a hard thing to explain to, cause like I'm finna, like finna is the way I try to teach people or tell people what I'm finna do. Like I've only met one person who knew what finna meant, and it was a Russian woman who lived in South Carolina, and she knew because she knew what finna meant, but nobody else I've ever known over here has ever known. If I asked them to explain exactly what finna, Finna means, nobody else ever got it. She was the only one. It was a Russian woman. She was the only one who ever knew what finna means because she lived in South Carolina for like 10 years. So but even if you try to explain it, it doesn't make much sense. It's pretty much purely slang from my understanding. My understanding is finna is slang for I'm fit to go. And I'm fit to go. I'm fit in this context means I'm about to go. Right? But it doesn't make any sense at all. It's ridiculous, you know. About to. Yeah, in Ohio we say I'm about to go. Yeah, I'm about to go too. I mean, we can say I'm finna go, you know, but we say that kind of like if we're like more close. Like you would never hear like I'm finna go like at a meeting or something like that. Finna is a South Carolina rural Georgia thing. I didn't even know where it originated from. Okay, I just I just always kind of knew it, but yeah. So like these little areas of like we like meeting people and talking to people. Um, and then I'll do the thing like I was legitimately sitting there talking to a woman today at the bank, and I didn't even realize I was speaking Czech. Didn't even realize I was doing it. Right? And I caught myself. I was like, oh shit, I was just speaking Czech. You know what I mean to her. Not just hello, but like I was explaining shit and telling her I had to leave and come back, and I didn't even realize I was speaking Czech to her. It just completely just you know. Some days I don't consider myself bilingual, but some days if you speak at least one other language, some days you'll wake up and just blah, 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 and in other days you'll stumble to make a 3-word sentence. Like nobody ever talks about these things, on social media or anything, but these are those deeper realities. Like some days you'll just get it, other days you just can't do it. It's like the best example I've ever seen it ever come out in any kind of media was Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron, and she was in a bar, and I think she was in Germany. Yeah, because she was. This is before the Berlin Wall went down, and and this guy approaches her, and she just responds back with like immediate frustration, like I'm not speaking German tonight. I'm just not doing it. And one of them type of things, and that was real shit. Now you probably wouldn't really come across that in real life, but the feeling was real. Yeah, Charlize Theron, man. Charlie, I stumbled on a clip of her talking about, how she was like single and all this, and it's rough, man. That's hard. Like that is Charlize Theron is in a hell of a position because I'm a fan of her. I think she's a great actress. I think she's one of the few female actresses that genuinely belong in a Marvel movie as a main character, and I think she could just knock it out the park. I think Charlize Theron needs. I think she's one of those between her and Numi Rapace. I'm not. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing her name. Those two women are two very underrated female actresses that are either that are attractive at minimum, but can still actually act. You know what I mean? And not just act as like a piece of shit damsel in distress, but like they can genuinely act like I'm getting fucked up. And you know what I mean? That kind of, but I'm not just waiting for a man to come save me kind of thing, right? Those are two of the very few women who can do that. And like Charlize Theron, she's in a rough position, man. And everybody's roasting her. Like if you read the comment sections on Charlize Theron, like everybody roasts her. Everybody roasts her. Because they're calling her Jan from The Office, and what she really pretty much is. Like it's fucked up. Like here's the thing. How old is she's got to be about 50 now, something like that? Because I'll be 39 this year. And here's the thing, like 40-year-old guys, most 40-year-old guys I know or older. Most guys most men will get to a point where you just don't like you just don't care. Like you can see like, oh yeah, you can say like a woman's pretty, she's hot, she's attractive. You know, I would love to have sex with her, but like would you really like? Do you really want to have to take on that responsibility of being her friend? No. I would say most men, when you start to age, it becomes very clear. Absolutely not. I think Charlize Theron is very attractive. I've always thought she was attractive. I've always liked Charlize Theron. I've always thought she was a great actress. I don't want to date Charlize Theron, right? And then the bitch got $55 million more dollars than I got, and I have to say a hard no. I know I don't want that. It is what it is. Like I don't want to date Charlize Theron, and I ain't got shit compared to her, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm all right. I'd rather go do something else. I got some laundry I need to do. Maybe scrub a pan or something. That's fucked up, man. Like you know, as you age, like you could genuinely find more enjoyment by being in the kitchen in peace and scrubbing that pan that you know need to be scrubbed for real, and you just ain't feel like doing it. You mean like you would genuinely be more happier and in peace and quiet scrubbing a pan and just looking at it, be like, yeah, I got that motherfucker good, didn't I? Like all that shit's out. Like I would get more satisfaction from scrubbing a dirty pan than knowing I got to listen to Charlize Theron on a daily to weekly basis, right? And she might be funny, but because here's the thing, because when you're younger, man, all you want is just some social attention. All you want is social. All you want is that social attention. You want to feel like you can fit into society. You want to feel like you're accepted by society. Am I doing the right things? Are people paying me attention? It's normal. It's not abnormal. It's not. The only thing that's abnormal is the internet. But it's not abnormal to have these feelings. Right, and it's honestly, it's just a wave you gotta go through. I stumbled on a clip of Billy Bob Thornton. He was talking about, I think he was talking to his daughter in some movie. I just seen a little reel of it, and he was trying to explain to his daughter that how you find the last one you're ever gonna be with, right? And he was trying to explain to her, like you know, like you're gonna break up with this boyfriend, and there's gonna be 10 more you're gonna break up with, right? He was trying to explain to her the reality of dating and life and development, right? Very rarely do two people meet that first, especially in any type of modern times. Very rarely is gonna be two people meet one partner on the first go round, and that's just it. And you're perfectly happy forever and all that. That it doesn't work like that. What he was explaining to his daughter was like, okay, because his daughter tried to say, well, what if I just don't date anybody, so I don't have to keep going through heartbreak over and over again, and I just wait for the last one to come? And he said, like, no, dude, because it doesn't work like that. You have to love your way through the hurt. You got to go through all the hurt. You got to go through the down parts and all that. And see, she was still kind of young, so you know, especially with them young girls, young women, when especially when they're skinny and pretty and all that, they're not used to having to be told to wait for anything. So it's severely oppressive for them to even hear something like that, right? For them to hear the word no or N and O put together anywhere in a sentence, it's immediately like a dagger to the heart because they're not used to it, right? But the father, he was explaining to her, like, no, like you have to live through that hurt, right? You got to keep going through that hurt. Like the one you end up staying with, you don't stay with him because you just on cloud nine. All right, that's bullshit, right? That cloud nine shit. Here's the thing, and I see, I tell, but my spouse, like, she knows, like, because we talk about this a lot, because she knows she's more in love with me than I'm in love with her. Like, we've been very open about it. She literally, last time we talked about it, she raised her hand and goes, "That's me. I'm more in love with you," kind of thing, right? But she hasn't had many relationships, right? And and um the hard part to explain to someone who's never been in a lot of relationships, whether it's a guy or a girl, is that one person's always the lover and the other person's the one's being loved, right? Two people cannot be in complete chase for too long. Two people cannot be on cloud nine at the same time for very long. I think that would be a very rare situation if two people are doing it. One person, at best, one person's like it. Generally speaking, two people just kind of hang out together because is not usually for good reasons, for really good reasons. Like when I say good reasons, I'm talking good reasons that like Hollywood would tell you would be a good reason. Like you find the last one you're gonna be with pretty much just out of being tired, right? Like you're just tired, and once you learn to accept and you're tired, that's when you know a bowl of ramen noodles don't taste too bad as long as they ain't rotten or something like that. You know what I mean? That's when you find the last one. You don't find the last one walk. Like oh my god, and you stay like that. For 15 years, you can't stay like that. It's impossible. And if you are, there's a mental issue with you. If you're that much if you're that much in love with a woman, if you're that much like just caught up and breathless over a woman, you're not in love with that woman. You're in love with some mental issue in your own head. Most cases, most cases for too long. It just doesn't like the Billy Bob, like his character, like it doesn't work. Like love don't work that way. Don't work that way. I mean, you could be like happy and all this. I'm not saying you have to be like sad and depressed, but that you can't be in love, and you can't really be in love unless you know how to be be like mad at the person too. If you don't know how to be like real mad at them and all that stuff, it's not really a love. You have love for the person, but you're not in love with that person. If that makes sense. AD getting out to Prague, dude. What's the best private spot to find a professional? Oh well. I mean, here's the thing. Uh, that's not even like a taboo situation here. Because Show Park is like the biggest. Show Park is the biggest money maker of Prague, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I would just say go to Show Park, man. Honestly, just go to a brothel. Is it like a yeah? I'll just say that. Just go to a show. Just go to a brothel. Because another part that's crazy to me, right? Is I've lost touch with American women, right? I don't want to say all American women. Let me say this. I've I'm growing to be completely more confused on when I see these reels from North America for these like dating and women's requirements to find a man and all this stuff like that. I'm completely I'm completely shocked. Like I'm to the point now where where I don't understand why it's funny or cute or desirable that a woman expects money and you should spend all your money on your wife and keep it on, and you have to keep your wife happy and you have to spend all your money on her, and happy wife happy life, and my wife demands of me that she wants me to do this and do that, blah 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 blah. I don't see why that's funny or cute or desirable or anything positive. I think it's disgusting. Like what why is it cute that a man is scared of his wife? Like I don't understand that. I'm There was somebody was telling a joke. It was some comedian or basketball player, and he was talking about how he was scared of his wife when he came home. Like, and as if it was funny. Like, I don't understand that. Okay, if I'm not getting ready to live, there is nothing about my life that that has ever been targeted, that has ever been dedicated to 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 intentionally walking in and lowering my mental health and my comfort because the woman that I like at the time might be mad at me. That is incredibly stupid. And any man sitting up in that is incredibly stupid. Period. Or if you're in the UK, full stop. It's not funny. It's not cute. It's not admirable, respectable. It's pathetic. I don't get why it's normalized. I really don't understand why it's even. I would much, if it came down. Well, it doesn't even got to come down to that. It come down to much lesser severe cases. But I would much rather go jack off and be alone. I will pull my dick out, go straight to whatever porn site I feel like jacking off to that day, and jack off the porn on the internet and keep my day and my happiness and my comfort of life moving. I don't even have to buy a prostitute. I could go buy a hooker, and she'd be cheaper than most women want for a first date, especially in North America, and look twice as better than she will, than the American woman would on her best day. I don't even have to do that. I would rather just jack off. Pull my dick. I ain't got to use lube. Just massage my dick while I just stare at it. Like, have some fucking dignity, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I will jack off. There is not going to be any shame in me in pleasure. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's not funny. Now, if she wants to spend her own money and blow all her fucking money, I told my spouse. I still remember this. We got in a borderline argue one time. It wasn't. It was really me just talking. I looked her dead in her fucking face, and I said, "If it comes to that, I will drive you to the homeless shelter with my son and drop you guys off, because you're gonna want to go with her. Because if she goes out and blows money, I will drive her direct. I will drive her to the nearest homeless shelter." And I was very clear about that. I am not getting ready to. My life is not getting ready. I'm not going down. You could either choose to come up or get the fuck away from me. Pick one. No. Like I said, women need their own law book worldwide. I think women worldwide need their own law, their custom law book, because that is nothing but like, because that should be considered a crime. It should be illegal for women to just be, and I mean, and expect it. Like, oh yeah, like I don't want, like I don't want to spend, out of all the women I remember I was walking down the street, and I took a long think about it, right? I took a long think. And out of all the women I've ever really, really known or had sex with or just known, there have only been, there's been less than five that I genuinely was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, I was genuinely like, not just like, oh, well, she's just what I got, so yeah, I'll just hang out with her. Blah, blah. But there's been very few women I was genuinely, out of all my years in universities and traveling and all this stuff like that, very few. Very few. I don't see, here's the, I don't think, where I'm at now, there's no, I don't know any woman now that's worth the money outside of just the to fuck. But I'm talking like I was watching. I think some movie where a woman, she wanted a guy to pay for a date. Like I like. I would not. I don't want to pay for a woman's. That's dumb. Like, why the fuck am I gonna pay for a woman's food on a date? It's stupid. You strong. You end okay. Unless she can verbalize it to me and some philosophical reasoning behind it that genuinely makes some sense, then okay, I maybe like for example, okay, last week, an old female friend of mine, she came to town to take some hair test, right? Because she's what we call it, a hairdresser, and she's wild too, like a stereotypical hairdresser is. She's wild, and she bought the beers. She bought my beers. I don't even drink that much, but she was in town, and I said, "Look, I'll be in the neighborhood, so yeah, I'll probably." So get this. So last week, the reason why I didn't live stream Thursday was this. Oh, Wednesday. This is Wednesday because I would go to the other bank on Wednesday, and I was in that neighborhood. The reason why I didn't live stream was because I meant to live stream Wednesday, but she was coming to town, and I go to this other bank in the center, and she was gonna be in that area, and she kept wanting to hang out. So I was like, okay, yeah, okay, I'll just stay in the area until she's ready to come out the class, and we could go hang out. So I went to the library, because to me, honestly, the only thing that's worth it, I don't even know why people really like to, go out much. Because out of everything in the city center, the only thing that's of any value to me is the libraries. Nothing else down there is even worth anything to me. So I went to the library. And I sat in there and I read. I was reading Chomsky. It's like Chomsky. It was like a whole book on his interviews and reading his thoughts on the Vietnam War. And I was having a good time in there reading Chomsky. And then my Russian friend wrote me. No, actually, I wrote him. I sent him a picture of another book I was telling him about, where Bill Gates specifically he specifically talks about how Czech Republic's electricity bill is high, not because electricity is just high, but because their engineers are so bad at taking electricity from Germany for free or for very cheap that they push the costs on to the Czechs. And that's why Czech Republic pays high electricity bills. He goes on about it in that book. So I sent him a picture of the book. So he says, hey, where you at, man? Let's hang out. So I said, I'm at the library. So I sent him my location. And then he came down, right? He wanted to come and hang out. Right. So he comes down, hangs out, and we're walking around. I say, well, I got to meet my friend, and blah, blah, blah. So we go meet her down in the center. Right. So we go meet her. I remember I got some chili cheese fries, and she got these beers that were pink because they had some berry mix, I don't know, but it was beer. And she bought the beers. And she spent too much on because I felt bad that she spent 90 crowns on them, which is expensive in Prague. For beer, 90 crowns is about $4 for a beer at a bar, and for Czech Republic that's expensive. That's about, well, the prices have gone up on beers in pubs here now, but even then I still think 90 crowns is getting high. So I immediately want to give her the money back because I felt bad that she spent the money on it, right? Because that's expensive. 90 crowns for $4 for one beer in Czech Republic is a lot. $4 or $5 for one beer is expensive here. And she goes, no, just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just give me next time, whatever. So, okay, cool. And we hung out for a few hours, and I came home. It was I was probably like 9 by the time I got home. And it was just me here. And then I finally tried the game Axiom Verge on the Switch, right? Now, to give you a perspective of where I am in my life mentally, the highlight of that day was being in the library alone and playing Axiom Verge in the bed by myself in peace. Those 2 periods were the highlight of the entire day. Right? I don't even like to hang out with people a lot. When I was 25, I would have loved to hang out with people all the time. But at 39, I don't even care to hang out with a lot of people. What's up, Thomas? AD, you said that men can buy his dream woman. Okay, men can buy dream women that can escort, but women can't buy her dream man. No, yeah, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. So a man can always buy a woman, but a woman can't always buy a man, right? And then because it's just a natural order of biology, and that's why I recommend every man go to a brothel to see it. Um, so, see, you don't see. Let's just use Czech Republic, because Czech Republic is exactly in the middle of Europe, both logistically and financially, right? So, when a Czech woman has a dream man in her head, see, a Czech woman's dream man is not in Lithuania. Her dream man does not come from Serbia. Her dream man does not come from Ukraine, Moldova. A Czech woman's dream man comes from at least Czech level shit and higher. Right? Now, a Czech's dream woman can come from anywhere. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to a man. It's just what can he afford, kind of thing, and what all that balances in culture, language, and all that shit like that. But a woman's dream man does not come from a poor country, and because my spouse, because we had these talks all the time. I still remember we were talking about it. I said, okay, out of all your friends that you've ever known, I asked her this because we're always in the kitchen talking about this. I said, how many of your female friends ever dated a guy from a country poorer than Czech Republic? And she said none of them. Absolutely not one. They might have liked the dude, but they not going, no, don't work. See, okay, when a guy's looking at a woman, a guy is mostly, initially he's only looking for what she looks like, the number one thing, and then it's okay. Well, what if the guy is usually more mature, he's gonna looking okay. Well, what is she talking about? What she doing with her life? Blah, blah. Right now, women. Okay, women are far more like there's a lot more that goes into it from their side. They're looking at it from, okay, is he good looking? But okay, is it like, do I fit with him if I walk down the street with him? What will my girlfriends think of me? Like, will my sister take him from me because my sister took my last 3 boyfriends? And it's all of that. All of that goes into to a woman's mind, right? So like. That's yet another reason why, like, if a woman doesn't like you, like, don't take it personal, because she might have really liked you, but you didn't fit her dream imagination in her head of it all fitting together amongst her friends and family and colleagues and all that shit. So that could have been the reason why that woman you asked out said no, because she probably. But here's the thing: most women really don't even care. Like when it comes to you and your looks and all that, as long as you're just a decently put together dude, like, women do not get off on looks like men do. It's nowhere near the same impact. Nowhere near at all. I mean, there is some impact, but it's nowhere near the primary. Like, if there's a woman that who is just like, okay, let's play this. Let's use Angelina Jolie in her prime. Right. And now when I say prime, I'm talking like Patrice O'Neal, how he was talking about Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie, let me grab my charger real fast because my laptop's going to die. Angelina Angelina Jolie, like Patrice O'Neal said, Angelina Jolie was a fine ass, okay looking bitch. Like she wasn't anything spectacular. Now who knows? Maybe in real life she was, because I had a female friend like that. She in real life she was just a goddess, but she was not a great picture taker. I mean she just looked like a kind of cute average girl on camera and in pictures. But if you knew her in real life, she just looks so much. So maybe Angelina Jolie was something like that. I don't know. You never know. You just got to meet these people to see it. But on camera, Angelina Jolie was like a fine ass, okay looking. Like she was alright. Like she was, 20 years ago, Angelina Jolie was. In reality, she was just a solidly healthy. When she was thick and Tomb Raider and all that, a little thicker, she was just a physically healthy white woman. There was nothing really special about her at all, you know. um, but here's the thing: a woman can get far further with being a 6.5 than a man can in the world, right? A woman who's a 6.5, not many men would have rejected Angela. Hold on, let's look up Angelina Jolie right now. Where's my Angelina Jolie? She was just look. See, let's look. This I think that picture is a more. Can you guys see this? Yeah, that picture was, if I can find it, was a more realistic angle and all that. It wasn't really made to see her be a model and all that. I think that probably was like a more realistic shot of her, right? Now she was a solid, what I mean, she was a solid 6'5", between, depending on your taste, I say 5 to a 6.5, maybe 7, right? But with her being in that range, if she had if she had come up to you and was just in a good mood and was smiling, you would convince yourself that, oh, maybe I should holler at her. Maybe I should go ahead and try to slide in there, right? You wouldn't be excited. But you'd be like, oh, because this was 20 years ago. This is before Hoflation happened, right? But back then she weirdly like trickled into that, being the role model for attractive women kind of thing. Well, I don't even know how that happened. Um, but yeah, she was nothing. But with her looking just like that, if she was hanging around and if she was just talking and not being a cunt and was smiling a little bit or showed some interest in something, like, oh wow, like maybe you look at her and be like, maybe, right? Maybe. But a dude who's walking around, maybe he just walking around and he ain't doing nothing, extraordinary. He ain't. She don't know he got millions of dollars and nothing like that yet. He just always walking around being a dude. Maybe. You know what I mean? You on the back burner now. You are completely on the back burner with no hope of getting out. Don't work the same both ways. Women, and I tell my spouses, women have it easier in the beginning, but much harder later on in life. Like both sides win and lose. Because she's losing now. She can restart. She's losing now. Both sides win and lose. And I told her I feel sorry for women. I really do. No matter how many, because she'll take it as me being mean sometimes. I don't mean it to be mean, but I feel sorry for women. I really do, because I think that their timing, everything about a woman's existence timing is just severely off. It's just completely backwards. Like everything about her timing, her realizations, her exposure to the world, Everything about her is complete. Everything about a woman's existence is literally completely backwards from the reality of the lifespan of a human. Like it's completely front loaded. They're getting treated better. They're getting cleaner bathrooms, cleaner chairs, cleaner tables, cleaner clothes, cleaner water, cleaner everything, as long as they look fuckable or they can hang out with another girl who looks fuckable, right? But then once they start to age and age out, like all of that goes away. And it's only given to them out of pity after that. There's the woman I work with on Wednesdays. She's a nice woman. She is. And you could tell she used to be one of them tall models, right? But she's getting older. She's getting older. She's only 5 years older than me, but she looks like she's about 10 to 15 years older than me, right? Because I have to remember, like she's only, like it's hard for me to look at her and remember that she's only 5 years older than me. And these are the problems you're gonna come. If you're a younger guy, these are the problems you're gonna come across. If you're lucky enough to age, because anything can happen. Nothing's guaranteed. But it's hard for me to remember that. And she's a nice woman. I don't have a problem. I think she's intelligent and all. I think she's, very well. I told her I like her. But the thing, like you can, when you get older as a man, it becomes easier to smell the desperation on them. The desperation for compliments, the desperation for eye contact, the desperation to be noticed, the desperation to want to be touched. You can smell it from a mile away when you start to get older. And and honestly, I was watching some guy. He talks with his wife. I think it's his wife on their podcast, and he said the same thing I say. Like women are just pathetic. And I don't mean that to sound mean, but women are. It's just a pathetic thing, right? So where the guy was talking, he was talking with his wife about it, and his wife said something like, "What if I told you, like, what if I got really, really, really fat? Would you tell me?" And the guy said, his response was something along the lines of, let me see if I think I saved it just in case I was going to remember it during the live stream. Let me find my phone. Let me see, because I think I saved it just in case I'll remember it. And he says everything. He was talking to his wife, and he was saying everything that I say. Wait, how do you? I always have this problem. I'm so bad with this. Hey, how do I find my bookmark? I can never remember how to do anything. Here it is in these apps. So I just leave them all alone. Here it is. I don't know how to find it. I don't know how to find it. That says masculine craze on Instagram. Let's look that up. Masculine craze. It may not let me watch a video though, because I'm not logged in. If not, I'll just play the audio. Oh no, yeah, because it's probably an old. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do it. So I'll tell you what, I'll just do this then. I'll just play.
Stupid. Well, here's the thing.
Here it is.
Would you tell me if I got like really fat or?
You guys are not. You're not built like us. Guys can say to each other, and guys are like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. I gotta get my together." And women are just weak. So you say something. Women are fragile, and here's the. They're also. No. Stupid. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of truth to that. Women are.
Oh my god.
Women are weaker and dumber than men.
Weaker and dumb, or emotionally intelligent?
No. Women, in a lot of ways, you could just say women are pathetic. And so, when you have to speak honestly, you have to talk to a woman like you would a child. Hey, sugar and a lot of carbs. They actually aren't that good for you. Don't unless you're going to expend a lot of energy. I think I might get into some tuna. Something like that. Something like that.
I hate you so much.
But it's not your fault. It's really just being a woman.
Okay, thank you. Bye now.
Follow masculine craze.
Yeah, she got mad at the end. She's just being like, but that's it, man. That's it. I don't think it's front loaded. Just I think human life got so advanced that we got older than expected and natural. Like that's true. I never thought about it like that. Quinn Les Moss. Yeah, you all the way right about it. Yeah. Biologically speaking, we were never really supposed to make it to where we outlived, women's beauty kind of thing. Jesus Christ. That sucks, but that is true. Like, because it's a pathetic situation. Like, the best way you deal with any woman is you have to talk to her like we needed the shoulder shrug. Well, because he said, because men can, Now here's the thing, guys, we don't like to be mean to anybody, but here's the thing, like you don't want to hurt other people. I hate when they use emotional intelligence to rationalize. I think women secretly resent the fact that men usually age better than women. Yeah. Rihanna isn't ugly by any means, but she's just not hot. Women glorify her look. Yeah, I liked Rihanna. I was crazy about Rihanna. I was in high school, and that was when Ponder Replay came. Her first single was Ponder Replay. And back in them earlier years, up until I think was Unfaithful. I think Unfaithful was about where she kind of dropped off in being hot to men, and then she kind of went that Angelina Jolie route of women because women are always slow, late, and retarded to most things in life compared to men. So it's the women will catch on after the men have already played with it, tired of it, and be like, oh yeah, I think that's actually pretty interesting. And then all the women jumped on Rihanna after Rihanna lost all that what made her sexy. She was foreign, back in the time we didn't hear many foreign, women like that. That's what really got Jennifer Lopez over, because she was foreign in a time where being foreign was like it was a positive rarity in those years. And that's really what got Jennifer Lopez, because Jennifer Lopez couldn't sing, she couldn't really dance. You know what I mean? Her tagline was being Spanish with a nice butt, and that was it. That's all she needed, and just get the moving, just smile and keep moving, just keep moving her body some kind of way, stay in front of a camera and smile and keep moving, and that's all she had to do, right? She's not really, Gal Gadot, they starting to roast her now. I seen on the internet, they talking about how bad she was. With Gal Gadot was the same thing. She couldn't really act. There was never a point where I seen Gal Gadot and was like, wow, that was good acting. Not once. Okay, anything was bad acting. But again, just be woman who's fuckable and just keep moving. Just move. Just keep moving. Just be woman and just move. Just do something. And be seen on camera. Just make sure a camera's always on you and just move and walk and touch things. That's all you got to do. Is it? Right. No, I haven't seen the movie Substance. But yeah, and it was, God, that's about aging, man. That's the hard part. Aging is a rough thing. It's a rough thing. I'm not ashamed of aging. I don't think anybody's really ashamed of aging, except women who used to be hot. But man, I really don't think of myself as being 40. I just don't I can't even imagine what my dad thinks or feels, right? Because I was thinking about it today. Let's say because I told my Russian friend this. I said, because he's 25, right? And And he noticed that my spouse is, she's starting to age, right? But he said, because he's 25, so he doesn't know, he doesn't have like the filter yet for all this type of shit, right? And he's a little wild, but I think if he were to get older, he would, because I'll say wild shit all the time. But he knows how she's, older than him, and it's like clear. But then he said, I look more like him than her, meaning like I look younger, you know, and I said, look, man, like we're all like everybody's like even that old man we seen walking down the street, he's still 25. He just got a little bit better at being 25. In his head, he's still 25, 30, maybe max 30. We all stay 25 mentally. Everybody just gets a little better at being 25. That's all it is. Like in my head, like I still think I'm 25. Maybe 25, maybe 28, 29, I'd say. I think I'm like 28, 29 in my head. The only things that I physically can't do anymore, and I don't know if it's age or I just changed, but I cannot do one-hand push-ups anymore like I used to, and I can't do as many push-ups as I used to. But it flipped for running. I could run and do leg workouts much better, because actually I just bought a treadmill. There it is. That's where I was live streaming from. I'm moving furniture around, and I got a treadmill. And I bought this treadmill because it was a bucket list. It's dark. It looks dark here now because the lights and shit ain't on. But so I bought that treadmill because it was a bucket list, because I've never owned a legitimate treadmill, and I found a dude selling it for like real cheap. Well, not real. With Czech Republic, it was pretty cheap, so I bought it from him. But the only thing I can do is, like I used to, was one-hand push-ups. I used to do a lot more, far more easier, and I just can't do it anymore. So I can't even imagine, like my dad, he'll probably say the same thing. He's like, I still think I'm 30, 35, and he's like 70 now. So I thought, like, well, what if I had to die? What if I was like at the end of life? Like, I would truly believe like I just started all this adulthood like 2 years ago. Like, it feels like all this time being an adult has only been like 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm 40 now. I'm going on 40. And it feels like it's only been like 3. If I look back at it, from the perspective of like just strictly looking back on my life, it feels like it was only 3 years. Now, if I mentally put myself back in those scenarios, yeah, it feels like it took forever. But, looking back from my perspective now, it felt like it was only three or three, maximum 4 years. Please watch the movie Substance. Let me type it in. Oh, wait. Substance. No, I never heard of this. Oh, it just came out. Oh, I think I seen a trailer about this. It came out in 2024. This picture looks real familiar. I seen a trailer about it. I know what you're talking about. I seen that trailer. But yeah, like women just get like with that aging, like that's harsh, man. Because another thing I want to tell the friend of mine, a 25-year-old friend, man, it's like, see, he really ain't hit that period where, see, he's 25, so he's still kind of going through it. Like, he's still in that time period where he hasn't seen a whole lot of the hot girls, like, be worn down yet. They can all still at least put the act on like they got their shit together, right? Like, see, those are the years, like, once you hit 30, that's when it gets harder to keep the act up, right? And all the cracks will start to show usually around 30, and for most people. That's everything you ever was will start to show. All that'll start. You can't hide it as much anymore. and he's 25, so he doesn't know what it's like, like I do, or even more so somebody like my father would know, to like look up on Facebook or something like that, the people he used to know, and now they're like 200 pounds overweight, don't even look the same anymore, got 8 kids and just never grew up or something like that. Like, he's 25, he hasn't seen that part. He hasn't seen that cycle of the hot girls who would never talk to you and they just fall off because they just age, they just get older, right? Or the hot girls in college that never graduated, and then they run off to work these like low end jobs when they thought they was the shit in college and all that, and they just never they stop development. Like, he hasn't experienced all that part yet, so he's still like, a bit eager to go out and meet people and this and that, and meet new. He's talking to this one African chick. She was actually a good looking African girl, which is rare in Czech Republic because most African women in Czech Republic are hit. All the good-looking African women usually keep going west. They don't stay in Czech Republic. So I told him that. So it was rare that I've never seen a truly attractive black girl in Prague. They usually just get the fuck out and go further west somewhere. For many different reasons. Partially because of that colonialism, Czech language, Slovak language just did not make it far in colonialism at all. So that's another reason why you'll usually have a harder time finding, complete foreigners in Slavic countries, unless there's another reason, but strictly based off of language. Slavic languages are usually very difficult to learn, and that just scares away many people too. So they'll rather go to like a colonizer country, like, one of them, Spain, Portugal, the UK, because they'll at least be familiar with those languages, France, something like that, because that comes from, the past. But like Czechoslovakia, Lithuania's, even shit like Norway and all that shit like that, you ain't gonna get a whole lot coming out all the way out there for one reason or another. I mean, they were slightly involved in colonizing too, but it was nowhere near the same rate or as easy for them to come over to those countries as it is those 3 to 4 bigger ones. France, UK, Spain, Portugal, and you can add Germany in there too. I think for you personally, you are rich enough to blow $5 US on a woman and it'd be nothing. So some of these men are rich enough to where they're spending the equivalent of $5 on these women tricking. Basically, what I mean is 10K is $5 to a very rich person. So I think as regular people, we need to look at it in that way. That's why these men are spending money on women. It makes more sense. Yeah. Does your woman understand you're the leader in a relationship and why? Does your woman understand you are the leader in a relationship? Well, yeah. The reason why I say that is because she's coming to me with her emotions now. And okay, 2 things. She's coming to me with her emotions, and she knows I really don't care. That's how she knows. That's how she knows I'm the leader. Okay. So, okay, because we've been together for a long time too. The main way you know a woman likes you is she for real likes you. And this is I was telling the Russian friend of mine, because I figured I was telling him that he was talking to this Mexican girl, one of them Erasmus students, and I told him I think she really liked him. The reason how you know that is because she felt comfortable acting like, okay, it's like a child. Again, it's like dealing with a child. Yeah, a kid might like, their friends and all stuff like that, but how do you know that they are completely comfortable around you? It's because they are comfortable crying and doing all, because they're not gonna do that around their friends. They like their friends, right? But they got a much deeper bond to the parent, right? Because when like my son, he's flipping out or whatever, and he throws a fit. See, he'll do that with me, but he don't want anybody else seeing that, none of that, right? He gonna get shy and all that, right? Because I mean, he likes him. Yes, I'm not saying he dislikes other people, but he's closer. And women are the same way. The order goes child, woman, man, right? Everything that the child does to the woman does to the man. Okay, that's the order of it, right? I was telling the friend I had the beers with last week, but it was another time. I was telling, oh, this is what it was. This is what it was. And she did. Now she did say it was true. Well, she usually agrees with me on most things. Very rarely does she disagree with me. I said, in this scenario, the woman never cheats on a guy who she feels that comfortable with. Women only cheat on guys that they don't feel that comfortable with. Like if she doesn't feel that comfortable with you, then I'd say it's far easier for her. I'm not gonna say she always cheats, but it's far easier for her to do it. Now, once she's in there that deep and she's that emotionally lost over you and all that, and to where she doesn't care for you to see it. Okay, she doesn't care for you to see it, but then it's a proper mixture you need. She has to feel comfortable doing it towards you, while at the same time she knows you really don't care. Like you still have you, yourself, your life, and all that. That woman is not going to, I'd say, okay, she could still leave and all that, but she's always, okay, let's say if y'all do break up and then you get back together, she will always remember it as you two were together the whole time. That's how a woman's brains work. Now, we would say we split up, blah, blah, but she would always say, no, we were together the whole 15 years kind of thing. It's really a weird combination. And then on top of that, different cases, situations happen too. But Thomas, back to the money thing, man. Like I like when it comes to dates and all this, like I just don't feel like. I mean, if we were all hanging out, we were just having a good time. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with buying somebody, buying some drinks and stuff like that. I don't see anything. But to do it, like there is nothing from my perspective. There is nothing interesting or fun or anything about talking to a woman and talking her out to a date with, how do I phrase this? I don't like, especially now, I don't even like, the idea just does not even interest me to meet a woman on the basis that if I wanted to date her, I have to take her out and pay for all her food. Nothing about that sounds even desirable at all. All of that sounds severely awkward. Now, maybe down the road, sure. Now, or maybe if I was just going somewhere to go eat, or I was going to go there to eat anyway, whatever, like that works. But like, to go and approach a woman and talk to her and make it clear that I like you, but you like me, you want to you try, right? And then it's under this understanding that I have to take her somewhere to pay for her food, to look at her, to look at this woman and pay for her food. This woman I don't even know to pay for her food. While she sits there and just throws on this whole bullshit act anyway. There's nothing desirable about it. That sounds disgusting. My path would be to go to get to know her first. Do something. I'm doing something for free or incredibly cheap first to see if she's going to make the cut. To even make it to where I would even feel happy to buy her something. I think that all of that's just wrong. And there's nothing about that. There's nothing about that fits. It doesn't sound desirable. It doesn't sound enticing. I don't want to buy you food. I don't know you. I'd rather go buy a homeless person food than buy some pretty bitch some food. Nothing about that even feels right. To even think about it. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. especially with nowadays with Tinder. Look, all of online dating is a free bed and breakfast for her. So none of that deal. There's nothing about that deal that makes sense. Now, again, if you know the woman, if you've already known her, you talk to her, yeah, that's cool. You know her, whatever. Maybe you just like her company. Maybe you just want to take a woman out, whatever. But if you don't even know this woman, and y'all been talking on the phone, y'all been talking and texting for a week or two or something like that, and you still don't even know her for real, right? And then take her out on a date to pay for her with the intention of paying for her food. That's just prostitution without getting sex at that point. Here's the thing. So many women completely, because I tell my spouses all the time, so many women are used to getting away with the most crazy shit because they know that men will just talk themselves into believing anything. And women will literally sit back and watch you talk yourself into it, as long as it means that she can win. And so many women get away with that. I say more times than not, women get away with that. They'll just sit back and hope the guy talks himself into doing something so she gets something for free, or she can tag along. Nothing about that sounds right. What sounds right is I pay for my food, you pay for your food. But no, me pay for everything and I don't even know you like that. No, like I said, I would much rather. You know what I would much rather do? And let's just use Charlize Theron. Let's say me and Charlize was talking on Raya, right? And I was kicking it with Charlize, right? We was talking, right? And she talking about she want to go out to eat, and the man has to pay. Now here's it. If she said it in a funny way, and that genuinely made me laugh, I'd be like, all right, babe, yeah. If she genuinely made me laugh along the way to think about paying for it, kind of thing, then I'd be okay, yeah, because you got me to laugh, and so that made now you're cool. That's that. But if she's like just a regular dingbat bitch, you know what I mean? And she goes, yeah, so where are we going Tuesday night? And blah 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 blah. I would genuinely find more happiness in just sending my dad the money, whatever I was gonna spend on her, and just give it to my dad and tell him to go, take himself out on a nice dinner by himself. Like, I would much rather, I'd do that. I'd be doing that. I was walking in the mall with my son about a month ago, right? And I seen some shoes I wanted, right? And this is a true story. Honest to God, true story. I was walking in Palladium. It's the mall in the city center, and I seen some shoes I wanted. And I was getting ready to go buy them. And I said, I don't even need these shoes. You know what I mean? I said to myself, I just want them because I think they look good. Does anybody even ask my dad how he's doing? You know what I mean? Like, does anybody, so I remember I just pulled the baby stroller off to the side and just opened up PayPal and sent my dad like $100, just out the, you know what I mean, just randomly, right? And he asked me what was it for and all this. I said, no, it wasn't for nothing, man. Just take it. It's one of those things, right? And I asked him. I said, look, has anybody ever asked you how you doing? And he said, no, nobody ever asked how I'm doing, right? But I was always doing stuff like that. Like back when I was in college, I used to drive down from Dayton to Cincinnati to take him to he used to really like this restaurant called Frisch's in Ohio. And I think he told me Frisch's went out of business. Let's look it up real fast. I think he said Frisch's is out of business. Oh shit. I think he said they went out of business. Frisch's Big Boy, yeah. Yeah, this is what it looked like. So maybe that one went out of business then. Oh, it's probably not going to let me look it up because I'm out the country. Because they do block this shit for some reason. Well, anyway, I used to drive down when I was in college, and I never had here it is right here. So when I was in college, I never had much money. But when I did have extra money, I would drive down to my dad's house on Sunday. Here's the, I always hated going to church, but I knew he liked going to church. And when I was a teenager, what we would always do was he would let me drive to this restaurant, to Frisch's. I was like 16. He would let me drive there, and then we would eat breakfast at Frisch's, and then we would go to church after. Now, I always hated church, never liked church. Mostly because it was pretty much a shitty concert for over half the experience. Not even a good like a shitty concert. And but anyway, I never liked church, but he always wanted to go, right? So when I got older and I went off to college, whenever I had money, I would drive down and I would pick him up, and I would take him to Frisch's and pay for it, and then drive him to church. And because I knew he liked to go. I didn't like to go, but I would do it for him. So I was always doing these kind of things for him. But what really hurt my feelings was the fact that when I asked him, like, does anybody ever ask you how you're doing? And he said no. Like, that really hurt my feelings. Like, so am I the only one that's really like that has ever really gone out of their way to like come to you and give you something kind of thing? But yeah, back to Charlize. Yeah, I do. I would much rather. What I would much rather do with $100 is either send the money to my dad or just go to a grocery store. Right? Just go to a grocery store. This is what you do. Go to a grocery store and just get you like $100 worth of shit. Okay, that woman that you talking to that you don't even like for real. Like, if you really that woman in your life right now that you're talking to, that you ain't even excited about. Like, when you think about her, are you truly like blindly excited by her, or are you just like holding on because that's all you can get right now, right? If it's the latter, this is definitely what you do. You go out of every $100 you was gonna spend on her, take 70 to 80 of that, go to a grocery store and just buy like some affordable, cheaper food, right? That you can get a lot of. And just go to homeless people and just start handing that shit out, fully wrapped and everything. Just give it to them, or give it to your parents. I'd say give it to your parents first, but if y'all ain't on good terms, then go do that, right? Or what you could do is you could I don't know, you just get creative with it. This is another thing I used to do back when I had decent money coming in. I would just deposit money into random bank accounts. You can do that. You could just go to the bank and just write random numbers on there, and if it matches to a bank account, they could just put it in there. Like, the bank is never going to argue you putting money into it. The bank will never say no to money. All right, if you walk in there, just be like, here, the bank will take that shit. Right? But you can do that. Just a random person, don't even know. But in my opinion, spending money on a woman you don't even know, and especially if you know you're not getting ready to fuck immediately, that's a waste of time. That ain't nothing but a complete waste of time. Mm. And it's sad because so many men just ain't, they either super desperate, super thirsty, and they just ain't thinking straight and all that. Okay, here's the thing. Half the time when you was dating a woman, right? So I said, okay, because I'm looking from the perspective of being in Europe, right? In Europe, you can go fuck you some model level shit for under $100 if you go to the brothel. Now, if you have in call, it can go up because they have to travel to you, but it's never going to be over like $200, something like that max in Europe, I'd say. I mean, you can always find more expensive ones, but as long as you're a bit savvy, you can always find like very good quality for no more than $200. But be honest with yourself. Out of all the women you dated, right? And all that, because every guy has to go through these phases as they develop. Out of all the women that you dated and all that money you spent on a woman, either directly or indirectly, because again, you got to remember, the only reason why you bought them shoes, that coat, that car, that house, them pillows, that microwave is because you thought it looked good. Why did you think it looked good? Because you thought a woman might look at that and be like, that looks good with you. So you bought all that shit for a woman. Okay? Especially when you're younger. That's the whole game. Right? Right? Now, that's the indirect spending. Right? Now, the direct spending is, dates, food, coffees, whatever the fuck. Now, out of all them women you dated, and you spent the money on them just to feel like shit after because she didn't like you, or maybe she did like you, whatever the fuck, right? Looking at all that money you spent, do you really think now, and this is going to be an individual question, you really could have been better off just taking it to the casino? And I strongly dislike gambling, but I'm strongly against gambling. I don't care for gambling in any form. But I think gambling would be the better option. Versus spending on a woman that, especially that you don't know and you ain't developed no relationship with before on any level. The concept that you just meet a woman and talk to her and see you next Friday at 8 and she got to show up and you got to pay for everything. That's prostitution. That's prostitution. With more steps and less guarantee. It's a waste of time. Right? Especially in Europe. In Europe, that's prostitution with more money, more steps, less of a guarantee, with a woman as lesser quality than the bitch walking down at the brothel. Who's gonna throw on the same fake act, but she's gonna look in much better shape and be clean and be a lingerie and heels, and her hair gonna be done probably better than that regular old schmuck, and she's ready to fuck. That's right. Because at that point, both of them on the same level, right? You only talk to them for 5 minutes. It's the same shit. Now, okay, now if you met a girl and you actually talked to her, you got to know her, this and that, blah 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 blah. Okay, then that's a little different, right? Maybe you feel like you want to do it in that. Now I'm not gonna like discourage that, but yeah, this shit of like giving bitches free food and all that, and you don't even know them. Just I can't even imagine sending a woman money on an app. Okay? I can't even imagine. I can't even comprehend doing that. I can't even. You know what? I told my spouse about this. When I went to Ireland, I ended up going to me and a guy, a friend, we ended up going to a strip club, right? And I don't even like strip clubs. But we went. Well, and mostly because I think I wanted to go because I went because this was my first time really being like back in the West again, and like it's really just a different situation than being out in Czech Republic. So I just wanted just like a direct conversation with a woman and not some like that fake poshy Western shit or that typical Western smog of a personality kind of thing. So I'm talking to this one stripper, and she was actually real cool. She was actually very cool, right? And when we left, I said, "Look, I know the game. Usually, I'm the person who's receiving money, but I'm gonna give you some money because this is just a game." And I genuinely had respect for her after the time was up. I bought her, I think, 2 drinks because she did a good job at her job. And I had respect for that. And she was genuinely interested. We talked about everything from video games, the chess, and it was on deeper levels than bullshit. Like, we got into points where she had to know this topic to even know what we were going to go on about, right? And not just like she heard it from some other guy who was into this coincidentally. Like, no, she had to have known this kind of thing. and I gave her $50. And I still felt bad about doing it because it goes against just me as a person. But she did a good job, right? I told my spouse this because I don't like lap dances, none of that shit. I've never been a fan of lap dances. I think strip clubs are mostly stupid. Um, but yeah, if it was $2, you would send them one. No, no, no. I would not send a woman $2 on a money. No, absolutely not. Unless I knew her. Like if I knew her and she needed it, if she genuinely needed the money, like if I knew her and she genuinely needed the money for some serious shit. Here's the thing. Women are like children with this too. They're only gonna go to people who they think they'll get it from. If she doesn't think you're gonna give it to her, then she's never gonna like just like a child. If a child like my son knows to go to mommy if he wants something. He knows don't come to me because he probably will get told no. Now he'll come to me. Now the weird part is once he gets something valuable, he'll take it from his mommy and come give it to me. Right? Like if anything that he considers valuable, he will walk past mommy to come to me and hand it to me. Right? Almost to the point where it gets annoying. And I always say, "Thank you, baby." His mom be sitting like right there. He will literally walk around her to give me whatever he deems valuable at that time. Like I'm like his safe. I'm his safe zone for valuable things, right? But when he wants something, he'll walk past me and run to mommy, right? Because he want whatever he wants, right? And women are the same. Like I said, that's the order. Everything child does to mommy, mommy does to man, or woman does to man, right? That's how it is. Um, the last time a woman just flat out asked me for money, I'll tell you the honest truth. This is the only reason why I know what JPay is, was because when I was running hookers in college, one girl, she ended up going down into Dayton. Was it Dayton? I forget what they call it for women, but she went to the woman's jail. She wasn't in prison. She went to the woman's jail, and she called me like asking for money. I think I sent her like $15, which she only, with the JPay fees are so high, she probably only got like $8 or some shit like that out of it. And that's the only time that I can think of that I sent. But even then, I knew her. Like I knew whose dick she was sucking for money. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like I knew her. But that's the only time I can remember. Like there was absolutely no way I would ever send a woman money on a dating app. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'd rather just be alone. I agree. I find that women enjoy talking to us more than we enjoy talking to them. Yeah. I think I see some Andrew Tate he was going on. Every now and then he pops back up somewhere, I think on Instagram or something. And he was saying pretty much everything the same thing I said about women. Like, it gets to a point where a woman gets mad because the man's not talking to her. And then the man always has to break down that, yeah, like all it turns into is the woman wants the man to be her court jester. She's going to want the man to just entertain her. Right? Because most man-woman relationships are going to end up going into this. Now, every now and then you genuinely get a woman who has good experience and knows it hits that point, so the woman will now have to like adopt your hobbies into her life, kind of thing. This is a lot of times how you get like couples who game or hike together or whatever, or drink together, whatever. Though it's going to hit a point where the man is just tired of entertaining the woman, so he just has nothing else to say to her. Because you just get tired, or you're just going to get tired of entertaining her like she's a child. And Andrew Tate's speech was like, he was going through that routine. He goes, the man's going to talk to his friends because his friends are actually funny or entertaining or intelligent, and the woman's none of those. And so then it's like, well, why is the man keeping her there? Just pretty much for sex, and barely that, right? And like, every relationship has to hit that point if the man's brave enough to say these things to her, you know. And usually at that point, that's when the relationship just completely just dies out. And this is when divorce, because most women are never gonna do, a decent thing and actually try to, take a genuine interest in anything that's not her, right? Because that would be like saying she was wrong, so she can't do that. So a lot of relationships just completely fall out and crumble. Or she's really like, or she just doesn't want to take the L of a divorce or, splitting up for whatever personal vendetta she has against, the world. She'll rather just sit around, just hover there in misery for the next 10 to 15 years. See, I just broke things off with a 47-year-old who wanted constant entertainment. It never changes, no matter age. Yeah, no matter what age. Yeah, no matter the age. Yeah, yeah. She's gonna want you to be her court jester. She wants to sit down and wait for you to. And she's waiting for you to start every conversation, come up with everything to do, to come up with everything to say, everything to think about. She's never going to input anything, right? And most women, the vast majority of women, never develop that far mentally to see that, because she's never had to. This 47-year-old you're talking about, there's a good chance she's never had to, because since she was born, everybody came to her and gave her everything because she was a woman. And if they didn't, she knew how to manipulate them to get them to do it. She's never had to. And again, most women never had to. And this is where I feel sorry. I feel sorry for why women are so dumb on average. And I don't say that in a mean way. I say that from a psychologically logistical way. She's never had you really can't expect. See, because of how a woman's life is made, you can't the sad part is this: you really can't even expect decency, much true decency out of a woman. You really can't even expect it. And these are brutal, sad realities because of how their lives are go through that course of development. You'd really be in a wrong place to even expect it. You ever just go back and look at your old video titles? They were so gangster, never date a woman over 30. Oh, no, I don't even look at it. No. No. Just caught the live stream, was doing some. Oh, what's up, Mo? Doing some work. Word up. Yeah. It was good to see you, Mo. But I tell my dad, he's 70. I tell him don't date a woman over 30. It's just too awkward. Like, it's just, there's never really like a good, once it just ends in just bitterness, anguish, frustration, all. They just end up like. Now I fully understand. For the older people out there, like when we were coming up, people always refer to their wives as the old ball and chain. Like, I get it. Like, they are the ball and chain in a relationship to most men. They're going to be the ball and chain, right? It's going to be everything's got to slow down for them. They got to be nicer to everything. The core of it, everything has to slow down for them. And if you don't slow down for them, then you're being mean. The tip of my nose keeps itching. But that's the sad part about getting with somebody who's beneath you. But the tragedy is that in order for a woman to be happy, she has to feel like she's beneath somebody. She can't be happy if she feels like she's above. So the tragedy of it is if you put 10 people in a room, right? Let's say 10 people in a house, and they have to live together. Especially if it's like, let's say if it's 5 men and 5 women, and they got to live together. Generally speaking, everybody's low point will be the baseline of whatever that thing is. So, like, for example, let's say like if let's say if 5 people in the house were really good at washing dishes and doing it on time, okay, one or two things has to happen. Either those 5 people have to okay, you could get lucky and the 5 people just naturally just do all the dishes if you get lucky. But generally what's going to happen is this. It's going to be one or two other extremes. One is that those 5 people will grow to become frustrated with doing the dishes on time and perfect, and they'll try to come up with a way to talk to the other 5 people about it. And the 5 people who don't do the dishes well will take offense to it and say that they're being mean to them because you should have told me another way. And then the people who are doing dishes perfectly will get just so frustrated to where they will now start to settle down with that lower 5 people in the house who don't do dishes. And then all the dishes will always be fucked up and dirty from then on. Well, that's usually the route it usually goes. See, when more than one person enters a room, very rarely does it truly happen where the person up here truly brings the other person up to their level. In reality, the person above is always, let me make the screen bigger. Yeah. In reality, what happens, let's say this is the better person and this is the worst person. Now, everybody's dream is that the better person will drag them up here and they'll be up here. When in reality, all that happens is this person, it's easier to pull that person down to this level, right? And the sad tragedy is that all women compared to men will inevitably find themselves down here, right? So the reason why, so this is the big reason, and it's just a biological fact. Women always want a man who's going to be up here. Women never want to be equal to, or let alone above. Women always, biologically speaking, they always want a man that's up here. That's the tragedy, right? Because like I said, the tragedy is because in reality, it's always easier to manipulate, cry, and scream to pull this person down here instead of going, yeah, I fucked up. And then you pull up, and then both of y'all will be up here. See, so this is another big reason as to why historically men always go off to see other women, and they can never really stay with one for too long, because at some point the man's gonna start looking around and all that, right? Because this woman down here, this woman is the cause of all this man's frustration. Because she's dumb, she's not catching up to shit, she's not figuring anything out, she's not bettering herself, she's just staying down here, and if you say anything to her, now you being mean to her and all that. Well, my ex was abusive, he was narcissist, he this. You don't understand that my mom yelled at me when I was 4, and now I have social anxiety disorder. And he's like, oh my God, dude, I'm tired of this dumb shit. You know, and he just goes off and starts another family. Like, women, you are the cause. Like, your biology is the reason why men don't want aging women, right? For many different reasons. That's just one fact, right? There's many others, and I'm not going to go into now because it's getting late. Women over 30 have this time clock that you must obey and adopt, and you got to go their speed. Yeah. And then she's just going to be a nuisance after that. You know what I mean? I told my spouse, Because I just started another master. I actually just started. I just started another master's program. The VA. That was a whole fiasco with the VA, but I finally fixed that shit. And I told her in the kitchen. We always in the kitchen talking about this. And I was real on. I was completely blunt and honest. I told her like, look, me starting this master's, that master's is top priority. Now I'll do what I can to. I'm gonna do what I can to schedule. Being with my son and being with you and all that stuff like that. I'll do what I can to schedule it. But when push comes to shove, this master's degree is worth more than you. Because this other master's I'm getting will get another you, but you don't get another master's degree. Right? It's about priorities in it. I was very honest. I was very open, and she was a little hurt when I said. I could tell she was hurt, but that's just what it is. And that's why I said, was it 2 weeks ago? Men, you have to just keep something in your life moving. Whatever it is, I don't care. I don't give a fuck what it is. You keep going and get whatever certification, degree. I don't care what it is, but you have to keep something moving. The last thing you want to do ever in your life is have the woman in your life be number one. That is the absolute last thing you should ever do. That's the worst thing you can do in life, is to put your hopes and dreams and quality of life into a woman. That's the absolute worst mistake you can ever make in life. If you don't mind me asking, where you get a master's? Where you get your master's in? IT. It's a master's in IT. Because I had to do an online school. I hate online schools, but I had to. So I don't want to go back to America. And so I'm doing, and the schools here, they don't even acknowledge. The VA just doesn't even respect Charles University. And Charles University is the main university in Czech Republic, and the VA just won't even pay for it. So I had to pick an American university. Well, I didn't have to pick any. It would have just been easier to pick an American university. But no, it's an IT with a focus in cloud computing and analytics. Cloud computing and cloud computing and analytics, which who knows? It might turn into something. I don't know. Because here's the thing. Because I had that experience in network engineering, right? So I just started, and they're going over like subnet and all that shit. Like, so I already know. I don't say I had to take it took me a minute to remember like the binary behind it, because I forgot you had to double the number every spot. Because I was like staring, like, what the fuck? I'm like staring at this shit. Like, how they get? I completely forgot how to even like make up a subnet or the binary out of a subnet. But you just got to double the number every one. Like, so I show you. For those of you who don't know, like, how to make binary and that. It's nothing real special, but it's just something I just so you just have to double the number every. So this is it right here. This is in CCNA training. So like I said, I had that history in oh wait, you can't see it. I had that. So I did network engineering years ago. But again, I forgot most of it. But the thing is, like, about education with anything, if you can just, here's the thing, real quick, I'll touch on this with education. Like Marcus Aurelius said, you don't get education in terms of remembering everything you study, because you're never going to remember everything you study. The reason why you get education is so that you've seen it before, and it's not going to take you long. Like, at minimum, you're not going to be severely uncomfortable when you see it. And at maximum, it's not going to take you anywhere near as long to figure it out, especially on your own. So I was at home. Like, I pretty much, so here's the thing. I just started these two courses, and I literally read 80 to 90% of all the material a week before the classes started. And this is one area that I just completely, I forgot that I even knew it. So how you do the binary is, so you see where that red number is? The one. So where you see all the zeros, if you were to make this is probably a harder way to explain it, but if you made the zero the furthest on the right, the number one, that would be a one. And if you made the second zero on the right a one, that would be a two. But if you made the third zero from the right a one, that would be a four. And then it would just double. So the next one would be 8, and the next one would be 16, 32, 64. It was 132 or something like that. So, but I forgot that I even knew that when I was looking at it, trying to figure it out. Then all of a sudden, it just clicked like ding. Oh yeah, that's what the fuck it is. But back then we were legit. I mean, back then we were going into routers and doing shit and switchboards. I forgot all that shit, but I'm sure it wouldn't take me long to remember. But you really have to go in there and could do that like coding shit for it. But again, it's been years, like a decade since I've done it. But like I said, like I read I read most of I pretty much I read everything that I would think would be interesting before the courses even started. And for the most part, it was like I said, since I had that history in network engineering, I think a lot of this is going to be fairly easy. Like I'm in a much better position in my position as someone who's never looked at any of this, because I remember when I was in school learning this for the first time, like 10 years ago. It was real hard for me to understand where the packets would go in a certain setup. So like, for example, like when you send, so for people who don't know, when you send something through the internet and you're getting packages, well, like the packages it's not just like one big thing. Like it gets sent through many different points. Well, okay, yeah, when it's going, yeah. So the how your internet's going to be set up generally is it's not going to send just like one big thing one way, because that can fuck around and congest the traffic from the internet provider. So they have to send it through like various different areas, long story short, to make sure. So in theory, you would think it would take longer to do it, but in reality, it depending on the situation, it will actually be faster. So you really just have to. The easiest way to think about it is think about it like water, right? Like if you had just like one pipe and you were trying to put like let's say like syrup or something through one pipe. Well, if you had just too much syrup, it's going to get clogged and it won't move. So, but if you had a bunch of little pipes, you could just pour all that syrup through all the pipes and fuck around and get more syrup at the end of the fucking wherever it was going. I hope I explained that correctly. But yeah, what would be your advice on a guy that has a girlfriend that is making $30K a month off OnlyFans? Would you tell her to stop, or would you have her keep doing it to strengthen the household income for you and the kid? If she's making $30K a month, I would say do this, which most people have a hard time with this. I would give you the same advice as I would give somebody in gambling, which usually will fail for most people. You have to be 100% aware that it is nothing but a ride. And for whatever reason, when that ride is up, you have to accept that it's up. Now, it's easier said than done. Most people who gamble have heard it 1,000 times before. And it's hard to give up. It's hard to give up these things. But that's the only thing I can say, because I've done it. I've done it on much smaller levels, but I've done it. Where you have to just accept, look, the ride's over, pull out, and just accept that was life for that time, and just keep moving with your life. At that, like I said, at that point, I would say you just okay. Because here's the thing: if she's making $30K a month, you're not going to stop her. She's going to keep doing it and just kick you out. Okay, so. And then on top of that, you could probably get some, get some money out of it in the end anyway. But if she's making $30K a month, she's not going to stop for you, okay? Because if she's making $30K a month, to a woman's mind, that's her saying, well, okay, that's at least 15. That's 10 to 15,000 other men who are willing to just hand me money just for a chance to look at me naked over the internet. right? So would she want to give up them 10,000 options for one option? So that was with her. Of course not. She's not going to do that. She's not going to leave you. I'm sorry. She's not going to leave. She's not going to stop OnlyFans for you. She would rather just leave and take her chances with them 10,000 others who will just blindly send her money. Muscle memory, it'll come back. But why do you want it? Why do you want to come back? Found something in IT remotely. Yeah. Mostly for the remote side of it. And two, when I read the cloud computing part, I was like, okay, because here's the thing. First, I wanted to do health administration. And I was all set to do health administration. And then come to find out, when I tried it, they actually wanted me to have studied biology recently. And it had been a long time since I studied biology. And so they wanted me to take another biology course before they would accept me into the program. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not doing health administration then. Because I was going to do that I was going to try to do that, I think, at South Florida University. And that was the first time I ever had that was the first time I'd ever been rejected in universities in any kind of way. So I immediately called them as soon as I got the rejection letter. And I asked, like, what happened? And they had to set a meeting up so we could talk about it over the phone like a week later. And they said, yeah, so we looked at your resume. All that was impressive. We seen your degrees. They said, yeah, we liked all that. We liked this, we liked that. The two big parts that they didn't like for this master's program was the fact that my address on the resume was in Czech Republic. I had to explain no, because I'm applying for an online program, so that shouldn't have been a problem. And I'm American, so that's no issue. And said, yeah, but the other one was a big problem, was the fact that you have the degree in biotechnology, but that degree was like from 10 years ago. And for anything that's anywhere near STEM programs, you have a good potential of them wanting you to take at least a biology, a math, a chemistry within the last, like, I think 3 to 5 years. And if you haven't taken it in 3 to 5 years, they just don't fuck with you until you take another one to do it. So I said, okay, because I'm not going to go take a biology course just for this program. Because the military, I'll just come back later and the military pay for it anyway. So I was looking around other programs, and then that's when I seen the IT program with cloud computing. I was like, because I remember when I was doing my master's in IT, and maybe I'm just going off of outdated information, but I remember one of the guys, one of my teachers, he was a cool dude. And I remember because he made he was talking about we were talking about earning potentials. I remember he even brought in a spreadsheet of all of his colleagues, the job titles and their education. But this is, of course, this is probably going to be old, but I just remembered when it was all the head guys and the bosses, they all had master's degrees in some type of computer related field. And then like all like the lower end managers to like regular people, like they would just always max out at bachelor's degrees, right? And he put the earning potentials. We was talking about money. Because I remember he was telling us how he was real embarrassed by his son because I think he had like 3 kids or something like that. And his two girls, they went to college and graduated. But his son was going to Ohio State for he was paying cash for Ohio State. That's how much money he was making. He was paying cash to Ohio State. And he said his son stayed in college for like 12 years. And we both said the same thing. It's like, I don't even know how they'd even let you stay in a university for 12 years and not graduate. Because usually there's a time limit to how long they'll let you stay. But I guess if you're paying cash, they'll slide. They'll let him slide because you're paying cash with it. This is just more money for them. He said his son was in there for like 10 or 12 years, and he just kept changing majors, never graduated at all. He just wasting money. He knew he was just wasting money on his son. I'll never forget that dude. His name was Quigley. Let me see. I don't want to put him up. Oh, that's pretty. I just said his name. What was son find out? I just said his name on YouTube. What was son find out? I'm sorry. But I remember, but no, back to the original topic was he showed us that spreadsheet of the earning potentials and the education, and I just always remember seeing the master's degrees, and I think there was like one guy who had a bachelor's in it that was on that higher up, and everybody else below was like at most a bachelor's. So that seemed to be like that ceiling, that cutoff of like how high you could actually go. Um, and then, like I said, I had the history in network engineering, so it wasn't a foreign occupation a completely foreign occupation to take up. So I said, fuck it, let's go ahead and just try that. See what happens. What's up, Oliver Biscuit? Yeah. I seen. I replied to the email, man. When you email me, I was like, I was literally more than half asleep when I first read it, and I could barely even make out the words because it was all squished because my eyes was like barely open. So that's why it took so long, and then I forgot I never actually replied to you, and that's why I replied, I think, Monday. He just became a professional. Yeah, a professional student, but not even a professional, but not even a professional student. His dad was paying for it. He was, so I doubt he was taking out, loan money to just keep the money kind of thing. But yeah, like I said, I had done all that years ago, and I was on a different headspace because when I was doing network engineering, that was after I had finished the biotech degree, and then I was going out to Wilberforce doing a bachelor's. So I was actually doing the network engineering and the bachelor's at the same time. So that's probably also why it was so hard for me to get network engineering because I was juggling two schools, one part time and the other one full time. So that was probably why it was so difficult for me. It was probably just as easy as it was now, but back then that's probably a good explanation of why it was why I would say it was more difficult. Came home from the gym. Word up. Cool. I'm getting ready to get out of here, man. Good to hear from you. I'm just getting ready to get out of here. It's going on 10. Yeah, because I wrote, what time zone are you in? Just to verify, because that's where I always fuck up. Time zones. I fuck up time zones all the time. But yeah, man. I mean, here's the thing. Most about life is the most things about life is really who you know. Because and also, but before I even started, I was writing friends of mine back in the U.S. if they knew somebody who would hire remotely for IT. And because, like I said, back in the U.S., most everybody I know in the U.S. are, at minimum master's degrees, and they're working in, they're most people who I know are at least in a managerial position at minimum. I don't even know many people or I don't even have people in my close contacts who aren't in these areas. So I immediately got two replies back from two of my friends. Well, okay, I didn't write the one guy because he was wanting me to go out with him to Bahrain, and I ain't gonna do that. Cause not with a small child, I just ain't on that relocating shit again, like that far too. Cause he's out. He just wrote me a few days. He called me a few days ago. He's fucking around out there in Bahrain and Seoul and all that shit. I don't know where Bahrain is at all. I just know the racetrack, but I don't know where it's at. Shit looks like the desert from the racetrack. You from Austria? East Coast. Okay, so Eastern Standard. Okay. So what, it's probably it's 10, so it's 3 p.m. there. Yeah, we're 7 hours ahead from East Coast. Wait, 6. Wait. No, we're 6 hours ahead, East Coast, from Eastern Standard. I think. I forget now. Pretty sure it's 6 hours. Wait, I'm gonna get out of here, man, because it's 10. So I'll catch y'all later, man. Y'all have a good day, evening, night. I'll catch you on the flippity flip, man. Peace out.